Welcome back to the Sideline Sorcerers. We are now through 11 weeks of the NFL season, already halfway done. And yeah, more craziness to ensue. Had some big, marquee matchups I really enjoyed this weekend.
hmm
Burrow and Herbert, Allen and Mahomes, just two great quarterbacks in each of those matchups going up against each other that we really don't get all that often. So really enjoyed that. The rest of the games were just kind of mad, as a Bear fan, obviously in absolute shambles, but I don't know. I enjoyed the week. Pretty low key though.
Yeah, definitely some matchups that feel characteristic of the playoffs with the whole Mahomes
Yeah.
Allen matchup. I mean, that tends to be a common one in the playoffs. I think it's already happened like four times or something like that, or three times, something along those lines. But yeah, still a solid week, a lot of good games, and a good performance out of the Sorcerers as well.
Yeah, we both went 10-4, so our full record is 103 and 63, just carbon copies of each other pretty much, even though we have definitely picked a lot of different game or different outcomes.
I know it's like every time that we have four games different, we each like win two and lose
Yeah,
two, and we just split them every time.
we got to put our heads together like a double-headed dragon, and then we'd be absolutely elite.
I mean, we already are, bro. But
I
there
know.
are
ten
just
four is
some
pretty
picks
good.
that are naturally you gotta disagree about. Like the
Yeah.
picks with the Bengals and the Jets for you are like always the ones
Well,
that go you like the opposite way.
I think Vegas as well, as in like the odds makers with the Jets,
Yeah.
because the Jets have been favored in like almost every one of their games, and they've almost lost every one of their games. It's
Yeah.
that bad. Like they were favored against the Texans. They did win that one, but they were favored against, the Patriots lost that, favored against the Cardinals lost that, favored against the Colts this week lost that. So it's tough right now, and I'm really disappointed in how their season is shaking out. But
hmm
let's get into our picks. Well, actually, we could recap our best bets here real quick. I went 15 and 12. Couple bad breaks, couple of good breaks, most notably the Washington State, New Mexico under at 72 did not hit because it went 73. However, the Green Bay Chicago under 41 hit because of that blocked field goal. So, I guess you win some, you lose some, but
Yeah.
overall, profitable.
Yes, and improvement upon yourself from last week as well, because you're now up to a 53.33% win rate on the season, bro. Up 5.3 units.
I
That's
like
looking
that.
nice. 136 and 119. Those are some
Oh,
solid numbers.
thanks, dude. I feel like if I could maybe dial in my bets a little bit more and not choose as many, but choose more quality plays, can get that even higher.
But that's what characterizes Rhett, though. Like you are
Just the
just like,
absolute giga slate.
yes, exactly. That's what you always do, and you're profitable every week with it. So you can't change it up trying to
Yeah.
lock in with a few quality ones. I mean, that's what I generally try to do, and it hasn't been working as well as what you do. So
That's fair. Yeah. Just let your mind free let take what it wants. Don't
yeah,
restrict it. But
yeah, exactly.
thank
So
you.
I went 3-3 this week. Starting off with a Pittsburgh alternate spread plus 3.5. That one cashed. And dude, after we recorded the pod, I had this sneaky feeling that Pittsburgh was actually going to win the game, and I included
Hmm.
them as a leg in this crazy, insane parlay that
Yeah.
really should have hit, and it, of course, it didn't. But yeah, the Bengals ruined it for me. But it was like $1 to pay out like 64, an insane
Whoa.
like 6,400 odds. Like I had the Colts money line in there, Pittsburgh money
Nice.
line. It was like
Yeah.
an 8 leg parlay, craziness. But I just had a feeling about Pittsburgh after we recorded, and I'm
Yeah.
glad I suggested the alternate spread. But the money line was definitely a bold take. Then Cincinnati money line, of course, screwed me over. Las Vegas didn't cover plus 7.5. Detroit pounded though. They covered minus 13. Houston minus 7.5. They also pounded the Cowboys. Jacksonville, Detroit did not go under 47. And what was I thinking taking the under on a Detroit game? You know, they're putting up 50 points every other week.
Yeah, they covered that easily just by themselves. But
Yeah, should have
I
done better.
like that Pittsburgh play because as the week went on, all I heard about
Yeah.
from the media was how Lamar Jackson struggles so much against the Steelers. He's like 1 and 4 or some
Yeah,
crazy stat, or maybe he's won a couple more games, but he's got a tremendously losing record, and he's got more turnovers than touchdowns against the Steelers. And so it
crazy.
almost felt like it was just a lock for the Pittsburgh to
Yeah.
win. And yeah, sure enough, turnovers, bad completion percentage, and a loss. But
hmm
getting into the next upcoming week here, picks and predictions. Not as many games this week, quite a few buys. But Thursday Night Football is going to be that team we're talking about in the Steelers at Cleveland. And I'm kind of using that same methodology that I wish I used with Pittsburgh there. One of those division
hmm
rivalry games. We've seen the Browns. They have been a lot more competitive with Jameis Winston. I mean, he has been throwing the rock all over. I think he had a ton of yards against the Saints, even though they didn't end up winning. They're at home. It's going to be snowy. It's going to be gross out. This is going to be probably a low scoring game, although I do like the over still just because of how low the line's at. And I'm going to take the Browns. Give me the Browns here.
Yeah, it's a bold pick for sure, but I mean, you called it though. Winston did throw for a lot of yards. He had a huge touchdown pass to Judy. I think it was like a 70-yard touchdown
Yep.
pass to
It's like
him.
64. It was
Yeah,
absurdity.
something crazy. I was surprised it was going to Judy. I thought it was going to be his new guy, Cedric Tillman, but
Hmm.
in any case, that was still not a bad performance out of him by any means. But after a big win in Baltimore, I'm going to take the Steelers here this week. I'm not sure that they've historically struggled against Cleveland or any of that, but like they just feel like the better team to me.
Yeah, no, they definitely are the better team, but weird stuff happens in these
That's
rivalry
true.
games.
That's true.
Tennessee at Houston. I don't expect anything weird to happen here. Will Levis has been playing better. Stroud has
hmm
been playing just worse. I mean, he got the win last night, had decent yards per attempt, but I mean, turned the ball over on fourth down. And hey, I mean, if you're going to throw an interception, fourth down is the down to throw it on because either you convert or you don't and you lose the ball anyways. But he
Yeah.
just has not been the same as he was last year. He already has more interceptions than he did for all of last year. The book is just out on him, I guess. But I do think he'll end up being a top 10 quarterback in the league, just when it all averages out. I think
Right.
he can get the win here at home. But
Yeah. I mean,
this is
law of
another
averages,
rivalry game.
though.
Yeah, I mean, the
I
law of
mean,
average, he's bound to have a good game.
you kind of predicted that, like at the start of the season. Like I think you said that Stroud was due for some regression
Yeah. I
this year.
think
That
I
he
said
was.
him
You
and
said
Jordan
sophomore
Love.
slump.
Yeah, for him and Jordan Love. And I think both of them have definitely, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe Jordan Love to a slightly lesser extent. But
hmm
both of them definitely have not been playing as well as they did last year. I know Jordan
Yeah.
Love really struggled early on, but toward the end of the
hmm
year, I mean, he was just absolutely slinging the ball. I mean, I think he ended
Yeah.
up
Electric.
tied or maybe led the league for touchdown passes last year.
Yeah. And yet they struggled to beat the Bears.
Yeah, but that's one of those division rivalry games again. It's just
I
weird
know.
stuff happens. So picking these games always just gives me the willies.
That is true. Yeah. But despite CJ's so-called sophomore slump, still going to be picking him against Tennessee. Again, same deal as last week. I'm not betting on Tennessee to be beaten any teams here, and certainly not a solid team like Houston.
I agree. Minnesota at Chicago. Man, the Bears have had a ton of home games in a row. This is like their third home game in a row. I'm going to take Minnesota here, but man, do I feel like the Bears. I really do like the Bears kind of to cover, but as a Bears fan, I can't jinx it. I can't take the home team here. I can't homer it, so I'm going to take the Vikings.
Yeah, this is a hard game to pick because we're talking again about the division rivalry stuff, and we're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a team like Minnesota that started off strong but has not looked great since like week 6 or so. They've regressed immensely. And Chicago has kind of been up and down, mostly down since
Mm-hmm.
like week 4. But I
Right.
mean, I'm still going to be taking Minnesota here. They should get the win against a much more inconsistent Bears team. But yeah, definitely a hard one to pick.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold has not played nearly as well as he did originally. And it's
Yeah.
really unfortunate to see. I mean, hey, they still are 8-2. I mean, they're still probably going to make the playoffs, but I
Hmm.
mean, that performance against Jacksonville where they only put up 12 points, almost
And
lost that
still
game. It's
won.
just
Yeah.
ugly. Yeah, very ugly, especially when we saw what happened when Detroit got Jacksonville.
Hmm.
Next game here, Dallas at Washington. I'm going to take the Commanders and probably by a lot. I would probably take them to cover here. I mean, they weren't that bad last night against the Texans. Cooper Rush threw for 354, 57 yards. Absolutely insane. I mean, he did throw the ball 55 times, but I thought a couple more bounces, a couple more things go their way, and they were actually a part of that game. I mean, Brandon Aubrey, he missed a 40-yarder because he slipped. Then he nails a 64-yarder, but then penalty on the Texans so that they get the first down. Cowboys keep driving, becomes 4th and 3. They don't get that, so then they don't get the field goal. Couple of things, I feel like they could have been more competitive in that game. I don't think they're the worst team in the league right now, even with backup quarterback Cooper Rush. But I must still take the Commanders here.
Yeah, I mean, same with me taking the Commanders. The Cowboys really have not looked great. They're totally different team. One without Dak, and two, even from the team with Dak just a year ago. This is not the Cowboys that we're used to, and they're not hanging in these games as often as they used to. So I gotta go with Washington here.
Yeah, even with Jane Daniels not playing quite as well, I think they get the
Yeah.
dub. New England at Miami. Miami's been playing a lot better. I mean, they're looking like they kind of did last year, really good at home. Tua, just you kind of get the same thing with Tua every week. Just 25 of 35, 20 of 29, high accuracy, touchdown or two, really doesn't turn the ball over, efficient, high yards per attempt. That's what we saw there against the Raiders. And I feel like they're at home here against New England, and Drake May is playing well, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Also taking Miami here. We have had some bounce back here, even from the star players like Tyreek. He had 61 yards and a tud this past week. Not his usual caliber, but his best week since returning is his first touchdown. I think since week one, I think that was his only other touchdown this year. And yeah, I mean, when Tua is starting to get his ball back to the star players on their team, I've got more confidence in betting on the Dolphins. So I'm going to be going with them this week.
Nice. And next up, we have Kansas City at Carolina. What is there to be said? I'm going to take the Chiefs. Not even a debate here. I mean, who knows? I mean, what if Bryce Young just has a breakout game, throws 5 touchdowns? Wouldn't that be wild? Coming off of a bye, but I just don't see it happening.
That would defy all the odds, bro. That would just
That
be,
really would.
yeah. I mean, like, no one in their right mind is betting on the Panthers to win this game. Like, everyone should go out to FanDuel and toss their entire savings account on the Chiefs to win this game. I mean, it's free money, even if you're only going to win fractions. Like, there's no way the Chiefs are losing to the Panthers, bro.
At minus 667. Wow.
Toss a grand on that, and you'll get some like
$10.
$10 in return.
Wow, they opened at minus 355. They opened at minus 7.5, got all the way bet up to 11. So yeah, I
Wow.
think people are on our side there. Tampa Bay
Yeah.
at the Giants. I'm going to take Tampa Bay, another team that is coming off of a bye. Kind of like them to cover here too. And the Giants, they're also coming off of a bye, but they're switching to Tommy DeVito. They know that Drew Lock is better than Tommy DeVito, but they don't want to win games. They want that higher draft pick so they can draft Shadur Sanders
Hmm.
next year. That's what they're doing. They're tanking without telling it to you. They're tanking in a subtle way. Because let's be
Ooh.
honest, Drew Lock is better than Tommy DeVito.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, Drew Lock does his own laundry, so he
Wait,
has to be better.
yeah, right. And Tommy DeVito's mom still does his laundry. Yeah, that's right. We're
Yeah,
going back
yeah,
chicken cutlets. Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Just want to make sure.
yeah, exactly. I am going to take Tampa Bay here, but this one does give me a little bit concerned just because the Giants are at home. We know it's going to be a little bit cold, and you've got a Florida team that's playing up in New York.
Hmm.
That's always a little bit dangerous. Like I know it's not Miami, but it's still Tampa Bay. So this is a little bit concerning, but I'm still gonna take the Bucks here. Just be leery of this one.
Yeah, no. Maybe Tommy DeVito has one of those crazy performances like he did against Green Bay last year and upset the Packers.
Possible.
Detroit at Indianapolis. I'm gonna take Detroit here, but I really do think that this is a dangerous spot for them. Like they're not going to go 16-1, and this could be one of those losses on the road after a big win. I think the best bet on the board is for the Colts to cover plus 7.5. I mean, they looked really good last week against the Jets. Anthony Richardson taking a couple games off, now coming back, looking a lot better, a lot tighter, playing cleaner football. And he still has all that star potential, all that explosiveness in him. So this is a dangerous spot. I'm still going to take Detroit because they have been so dominant. But if there's
Hmm.
any letdown opportunity, this is it.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. Anthony did look solid in his last performance there. He threw for at least one tud, but I think it might have been two. You
He had a
want
rushing touchdown for
to?
sure.
Okay, got you. Yeah, and then, I mean, he took down the Jets, which like isn't anything amazing. Their offense was stagnant for like a little bit in that game. They jumped off to an early lead, then they kind of like
Yep, they
fell
squandered it.
behind a bit, but yeah, then they came back. They still won. It's hard to bet against Detroit right now. It really is. Like when the Chiefs are 9-0, I I felt more confident betting against the Chiefs than I did against Detroit, like at the same with roughly the same records. Just because Detroit has been dominating every game and the
Yeah,
Chiefs haven't. So it's just really hard for me to pick against
yeah.
Detroit. So I got to go with the Lions here, but yeah, I guess we'll see how it all plays out.
Denver at Las Vegas. I'm going to take the Broncos here, but hey, another one of those division rivalries on the
Hmm.
road. Is this the right play? Is Vegas to cover a good bet? Again, Denver's been really good against bad teams. I mean, they can get blown out against the Ravens, lose to the Chiefs on a fluky play. But hey, when the Falcons come to town, they got blasted. And I didn't know how to
Hmm.
pick that game. I felt lucky to have picked the right side, but I could have very easily taken the Falcons in that game. Glad I did not. But yeah, I'm gonna keep rolling with Denver here. Vegas didn't look half bad. Like Gardner Minshew didn't play that bad against the Dolphins. They were covering there for most of the game until the Dolphins pulled away. So I don't
Hmm.
know. I mean, I'm a little wary on this one as well, but I will continue the ride with the Broncos.
Yeah, good pick. I like it as well. I was a bozo last week and picked against them. I took Atlanta. Shouldn't have. Broncos have been looking excellent. I should have known after picking them against the Chiefs too that they had what it took to pound the Falcons. I don't know what I was doing last week, but yeah, definitely the Broncos here. I do want to note though that just Vegas feels like a very strange 2-8 team to me. Like
Hmm.
it feels like they're almost like a 4-6 or like a 5-5 type of team. Like they're just like the fantasy players are still kind of producing. Like
Yeah.
Brock Bowers is still the number one tight end in fantasy.
Yep.
And like you look at a team like Carolina who's got the exact same record, and who do
They
you
got no
have that's
one except
yeah,
Chuba.
that's fantasy production. There's no
Yeah.
one. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic for being 2-8, yet some of their players are still putting up solid fantasy numbers and their
Yeah.
record just isn't really displaying that. But yeah, either way, still going with the Broncos.
Yeah. I mean, they played some close games against the
Hmm.
Rams. They covered against the Chiefs a couple weeks ago. So,
Yeah.
they're putting points up on the board, but just a very, just they're, I mean, they're pretty poor on each side of the ball, but it's not like
Right.
they're horrible. Like, let's say the Bears are on offense sometimes.
Yeah, that's
All
so
right.
true, bro.
Another division rivalry, Arizona at Seattle. Is this crazy to pick another road team? Like pick the road team to win a divisional matchup? That's dangerous, especially to pick two of them back to back here. But I'm going to rock with the Cardinals. Even though the Seahawks got the win, I think they were very lucky to do so. I
It was
think the
fluky.
49ers just are not the same team. I don't think Seattle is anything impressive either, but Gino had been like 0 and 4, 0 and 5 against the Niners in his career going into this game, including the playoffs. They were bound to win one. Like they were bound to get one. It's kind
Hmm.
of like, last year when the Broncos finally got one back against the Chiefs, like the law of averages kicks in. And although they were playing on the road last week, they were just due for a win. Just feel like they kind of come back down to earth. Cardinals coming off of a bye, leading that division. Kyler Murray playing very, very well. I think they're able to get a win here when I'm pretty sure they got swept by the Seahawks last year.
Yeah, a lot of good points there. Coming off the bye is huge for the Cardinals here, and they are already leading their division, which is crazy to think about coming into
Yeah,
the
whole game
season.
lead.
Yeah, like I felt probably like most likely the 49ers were going to win the division. Then I would have put the Rams next. But like one
Yeah,
of
it's
those
flipped on
teams
its head.
winning the division and the other like getting a wild card spot did not envision the Cardinals here. And yeah, now the 49ers are in last in their division right now. That's spooky, bro. That's
Yeah, I
just
mean, even though
spooky.
they have the same record, they lost to the Rams and then they split with the
Yeah.
Seahawks, so it's not good. It's
Not
not
good
good
for
down
them.
there.
And even with McCaffrey back, like normally I mean, he's still their star player, but like
I don't feel like
normally
he's fully healthy. Like he doesn't seem
yeah.
like he's at that same level that he was last year.
No, he was a game changer
Yeah.
last year for them and not anymore. It doesn't seem that way. So maybe it's the
Yeah.
lingering injury, but either way, I'm still going to be taking Arizona here this week.
Ayuk's absence has also hurt them tremendously, in my opinion.
Yeah. Hmm.
Speaking of which, San Francisco at Green Bay. Now, why, after just saying all that, am I going to take the Niners? Well, because I don't believe in the Packers. I think Jordan Love's going to turn the ball over. I knew he was going to throw an interception against the Bears, and it's the Bears. I remember I was driving home with Danny from the Notre Dame game. I told him we're both big Bears fans. I'm like, I don't think the Bears are going to win, but I guarantee Jordan Love
Hmm.
throws a pick here. I can guarantee it again. I mean, he is a gunslinger. He is going to take risks, and yeah, a lot of them are not going to pan out. We all know what happened last year, though, in the playoffs. Does Green Bay want revenge? Is the weather going to play a factor in this game? There's a lot going on here, but the Niners pressed up against the wall, very desperate for a win. I mean, at least Seattle and Arizona play each other, so one of them has to lose, and the
Right.
Rams have a tough matchup. So this is a good opportunity for them to get kind of back up into the thick of it and have a chance late to make a playoff push because they really need it. And so I'm going to trust them to do it.
Yeah, they could certainly move up their division rankings here after the game this week, but um, I am going to be taking the 49ers as well here. A little bit concerned about the Packers' sort of lackluster performance last week against the Bears. I mean, the Bears have not looked great, honestly, and for the Packers to kind of fall short of
They
like
should have lost that
domination.
game.
Yeah, I mean they should have. So wasn't the Packers team I was expecting to see this season. They've kind of been up and down as well. Some really solid games, but others just have not been there at all. But yeah, this is kind of a do or die moment for the 49ers here, so I'm going to roll with them.
Nice. On the same page for a lot of these games this week.
Yeah,
Not
except for
these
these
last
last
two,
two.
though. Yeah. Eagles at Rams. I'm going to take the Rams here. I think the Eagles are due for a loss. The Rams have looked really good. Stafford throws another 4 touchdown passes against the Patriots. I just feel that the Eagles have something missing. Can't really put my finger on it. Maybe it's that coach. I mean, they've just been rolling teams, but again, like I said, they are due for a loss. And this one here on the road, traveling to the opposite coast, the Rams. I know they have a couple extra days of rest, and that is kind of a big deal here when you're taking such a long trip. I like the Rams to get the dub here, man.
Mhm. That's fair. Yeah, Stafford did have a great game last week, but can't forget about the week prior when he faced the Dolphins and they just kind of crumbled. Like they
Yeah,
looked
that
like
was weird. That was very
yeah.
strange.
I don't know. It feels like one week they're good, then the next week they're bad. One week they're good, next week they're bad. So maybe that's going to be the case here. Last week they have a good game against the Patriots. Now they're going to regress back to usual against a solid team. I mean, they are facing the Eagles. The Eagles have put
Yeah,
up a lot of
the
points. They've
Eagles
been
beat
playing
them
well.
last year. So I think maybe this could be a revenge game. I
Ooh,
love like looking at that. Like Tampa Bay
yeah.
earlier in the year, I had a feeling they were
Hmm.
going to beat the Lions because last year they lost to them twice. Is something there in terms of this game?
Yeah. I mean, it's a possibility. It is a primetime game. You know, they're at home, so that those could also be contributing factors. It's certainly not a bad pick. Like I like your Rams pick here. I gotta go with the Eagles.
Fair. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a totally fair pick as well. Baltimore at Chargers for Monday Night Football here because of how bad Baltimore's secondary is. I think Justin Herbert's going to throw all over him. And so I'm going to take the Chargers. Now, it is pretty interesting to me how accurate. I mean, I think Justin Herbert started like 10 for 10 and like some crazy amount of yards. I mean, he's throwing like 15 yards a clip. Second half comes around. He goes like 7 for 20. I mean, it was bad in the second half. He finishes with below 50% completion percentage. I don't know. I mean, how it got that ugly after it was that good. We all know the
Mhm.
Bengals defense isn't that good. So that does concern me here a little bit. We all know his receivers aren't amazing. You got Lad McConkey. I think Josh Palmer dropped the ball in that game. Or was it Quinn Johnson? They're both pretty equivalent to me. I do like Lad though, but just because of how bad Baltimore's defense has been playing, I'm going to take the Chargers here. But I don't love, like, it doesn't make me feel good to pick the Ravens to lose 2 weeks in a row. Like, that doesn't happen often. So this is one that I'm pretty worried about.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's actually crazy to me that these two teams have essentially the same record. Chargers and Ravens, both 7 wins. Ravens have 4 losses though, and Chargers only 3.
Yeah, that is
Was
crazy.
Yeah, was not expecting that like at this point. But yeah, here we are. Baltimore is going to be hungry, bro. After their loss last week, they should not have lost that game. They didn't deserve it. And they're
Hmm.
going to come out fired up for this game against the Chargers. I feel like they're going to have to lock in and get a win.
Yeah, no, this is another instance where Ravens beat them last year. I'm pretty sure I picked the Chargers to beat them when that game
Mhm.
came around. So I'm taking a couple, revenge matchups here, I guess you could
Yeah,
say.
yeah. I like that.
Launching into the best bets here, I'm just kind of going over them because I do these Monday morning. So I want to make sure I get the best line so I can alter those if need be. Cleveland plus 3.5. You guys think, that I think they're going to win. So I'm just going to take the points here. I'm going to also take the over. Apparently, it's supposed to snow, but the over has been hitting in so many of these Pittsburgh games. I know it didn't hit against the Ravens this past week, but a lot of the time it's been hitting. So snow, who cares? Over 36.5. I like SMU minus 9.5 on Saturday. Getting into some ACC games here. SMU is playing at Virginia, who Notre Dame just walloped. Got Iowa on the road minus 6.5 against Maryland. Got then Indiana plus 13 on the road at Ohio State. Big matchup there. Massachusetts plus 42 on the road at Georgia. Massachusetts has been kind of sneaky. I mean, if you're Massachusetts, why do you do this to yourself? They've scheduled probably the hardest like out of conference. I mean, they're an independent
Hmm.
right now, but they have played a lot of MAC teams. I mean, they have played Missouri. That's an SEC team. They have played Liberty, which is one of the best teams in the group of five. And now they're playing Georgia. And I'm pretty sure they had another game in there. Let's see here. I'm going to pull up their schedule real quick. So yeah. Oh yeah, they played another SEC team in Mississippi State. So 3 SEC teams. If you're this little measly Massachusetts, I mean, either way, they're battle tested, and that's why I like them to cover. Colorado -3. They are playing. Oh man, who are they playing? Shoot, just escaped me. There's so many games. They're playing at Kansas, and now it's 2.5. So I'm going to actually alter that. West
Hmm.
Virginia money line plus 122. Texas Tech -3.5 at Oklahoma State. Minnesota plus 11.5 against Penn State. Then you got Mizzou -7.5 as well. Getting into some SEC games here. Army, Notre Dame under 44.5. You guys know I love taking the unders when it's in a baseball stadium. Remember last week I took the under in the Ohio State Northwestern game. That hit. Here's another Yankee Stadium baseball type of atmosphere where I believe the under will hit. Then Texas A&M -2.5 on the road at Auburn. Auburn's poo. Iowa State -6. You got Wisconsin, Nebraska over 42.5. Both of those teams are capable of putting on a lot of points. So even if the weather's a little colder, I like the over there. Then we got BYU, Arizona State over 48.5. Arizona State over did not hit last week, unfortunately, but I think it will here. I got Ball State plus 11.5 coming off the firing of their head coach. I think they'll be fired up and ready to go. I think it's Bowling Green they got this week. Then we got Tennessee -41 against University of Texas at El Paso. Then Back to the Indiana-Ohio State game, under 52. Then NFL, Minnesota, Chicago, under 40. You know, I love unders in the Bears games. And honestly, unders in Minnesota games are pretty good too. Chicago plus 3.5, though. Indianapolis plus 7.5. I already talked about that one. I said I also like Tampa Bay -5 against New York. I also like the over in that game, over 41.5. Taking San Fran on the money line plus 118. Taking Arizona on the money line -105. Rams +3. New England, Miami under 46. Denver, Vegas over 40.5. That is an anemically low over under there. But I do like the under in the San Fran Green Bay game. And last but not least is whatever the odds end up being for the Chargers plus 3.5. The spread is at 3 right now. Bite that up to 3.5, probably around -132. And I think you get some really good value there for a team that I think will actually win. Sorry,
Yeah.
I know that was long winded.
No, you're good, bro. Lots of good bets there. I always get stressed out though when we have opposing best bets. It's
What are you
always rough
doing?
for
Oh,
me.
you're taking the
I got
Giants?
Detroit. Oh, I got
Oh,
Detroit
no.
-7.5 here, bro. I guess we got two opposing best bets.
Oh, my God.
I got to keep hammering Detroit, bro, when they're blowing out teams by 40 plus points. Like their offense is so electric.
No,
I
I
gotta
get it.
take
That's
the
that's
points here.
fair. They have been a cover monster.
Yeah, and it's only like a little more than a touchdown, bro. Like they've been blowing teams out by 5 touchdowns. Like I don't
This is
know.
just this feels like a trap game for me. I don't know, man. It
Maybe,
feels
dude, you
trappy.
you might strategically snipe this one. You have a tendency to do that. Next up, I do have the Giants +5.5. I already talked about the weather situation and that I'm worried Tampa Bay might perform like Miami here, and that the Giants at home in some cold weather will do a little bit better than we might expect them to. Then I've got Denver -5.5 here. Really like where Denver's at against a 2-8 Vegas team. Then I got Baltimore at the Chargers over 50 points as well. And yeah, you mentioned it already, but with how terrible Baltimore's secondary is, we're seeing a lot of points get put up against the Ravens, and you know they've got a high powered offense as well. So we're gonna go with the over for this game.
No, good bets. I think that Baltimore Chargers over is a smart play. It just worries me a little bit because the Chargers defense is really good. And
Hmm.
for whatever reason, maybe if, the Chargers have a half like they did in the second half against the Bengals where, the ball's just not hitting, Justin Herbert goes below 50%. I mean, I think he only completed like
Yeah.
30% of his passes in the second half there. And, we all
Hmm.
know Chargers defense has been pretty solid, and I think that's the most points they've given up all year to the Bengals. So I don't
Right.
know. That one worries me a little bit, but overall, I like your bets.
Thanks, dude.
And you said no fan mail, right? Unfortunately, no one has sent in their picks.
No new fan mail. Jimmy went 8-6 this week. He's now 2 games behind our record, and my dad outperformed us by 1 game this week. So he's up to, well, I guess we don't know his year-to-date record, but yeah, he had another
That
solid
was a
week.
good pick on the Chargers on his part.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, some good picks in there. 11-1 is or 11-3 is really solid.
yeah, he's that's like 4 straight weeks, bro. He's like beating us by one
Just
game each
balling.
time.
If only
Yeah,
he sent his picks in advance so our viewers could
yeah. So he
trail
could,
him and be
yeah,
profitable, make some money.
right, yeah. Maybe he'll just have to start his own podcast for
A
so he can
competing
ensure
pod?
that he's a
Wow.
competing pod. Yeah,
That would be wild.
yeah. But he would guarantee that his picks are on time because he
That's
would
true.
have to output content for all of his fans.
Exactly. The sideline sorcerer 2. I don't know. I bet he would come up with some crazy creative name though.
It would, yeah, it would definitely be something ridiculous.
All right. Well, I guess that's all we have for you guys this week. Thank you, as always, for listening, and we will see you guys next week for week 13 picks and predictions. See you guys.